Welcome back to the deep dive. Imagine this. It's late at night, the house is completely quiet, and you decide to, open up your personal financial records from a few years ago.
Oh boy, yeah. The classic late night financial audit.
Right,
Mm.
exactly. So you pull up the spreadsheet or your banking app and you look at the balance, and the number on the screen today is significantly larger than it was back then.
Which, I mean, it should feel great, right? You should feel awesome about that.
You really should. You've worked hard, you've sacrificed, you've consistently saved, and the number has, well, it's undeniably grown.
Yeah,
But as you sit there in the glow of the screen, you do some mental math comparing that number to the actual world around you.
always a dangerous game.
It is because you realize that the house you wanted to buy has, doubled in price,
Yeah,
or the cost of a simple grocery run just feels way heavier.
yeah, it really does.
And you get this sinking, hollow feeling in your stomach because the realization hits you. Despite that bigger number, you aren't actually any richer.
It is it's a profoundly unsettling moment to look at visual proof of your hard work, that larger balance, and realize the math of your actual life is completely failing you.
It's the worst.
The effort is clearly there, but the outcome is just slipping through your fingers.
And that deeply frustrating realization is basically the foundation of our deep drive today. We're exploring a really personal, reflective document about finance.
Yeah, it reads a lot like a financial diary.
Exactly. It's from someone who had this exact late night wake up call, and they crystallized their experience into one core quote that we're really going to unpack today. They said, adding money and maintaining the value of money are two different things.
That statement, I mean, it sounds so elementary on the surface, but the implications completely upend how most of us approach our careers and our
How
savings.
so?
Well, we spend so much energy trying to figure out how to add money to the pile, right?
Mm.
But almost zero energy learning how to keep the pile from degrading.
Right, right. So, our mission for this deep dive is to explore this often ignored gap between income growth, which is adding money, and wealth preservation, which is maintaining its value.
Because what this source material makes incredibly clear is that working hard to earn money simply isn't enough if you don't know how to protect it from silently vanishing.
Silently really is the key word there, I think. We aren't talking about losing money because you, I don't know, made a terrible gamble on some speculative crypto token.
Right. Or because the global economy just collapsed overnight.
Yeah. We are talking about the slow, invisible leak that happens while you think you are doing everything absolutely right.
Yeah, and to understand how money vanishes without a crisis,
Hmm.
we first have to look at the difference between the actual digit in your bank account and what that digit can do out in the real world.
The author calls this the nominal illusion.
Right, exactly. Let's look at the mechanics of this late-night realization they had.
Hmm.
The author was looking at their savings in their local currency, the Indonesian rupiah. Nominally, meaning the actual number printed on the screen, the savings had grown significantly over the years. Millions more rupiah than before.
Sounds good so far.
But then they started running comparisons against other stores of value. They compared their rupiah savings against the rising price of gold over that same time period.
Hmm.
Then they looked at the strengthening of the Singapore dollar and the US dollar, and then against the skyrocketing prices of local property.
Oh, wow. So they're comparing their cash against all these hard assets and global currencies.
Right. And the illusion completely shattered because the cost of living and the cost of assets were moving significantly faster than their savings were growing.
That's rough.
When a local currency loses ground to global currencies or hard assets, the purchasing power of that money shrinks, even if the nominal number stays the same or, goes up slightly.
It's like running on a treadmill. You're sweating, you're putting in the work to increase the speed, which is you increasing your savings, but the treadmill itself is tilting upwards, representing inflation and the rising cost of living.
That's a great way to put it.
You feel like you're moving fast, you're exhausted, but you're actually losing ground. But I struggle to understand why our brains are so easily tricked by seeing a bigger nominal number on a screen.
Yeah.
Like, why does it take a late night spreadsheet session to realize we are poorer than we were?
Well, think about it. From the time we were children, like putting coins in a piggy bank, our psychological conditioning trains us to measure financial success purely by accumulation.
Put the coin in the slot, you did a good job.
Exactly. A bigger pile of coins equals greater wealth. It's binary, it's simple, and it provides immense psychological comfort. We focus entirely on the isolated variable. We control our income, and we willfully ignore the surrounding economic environment, which we don't control.
We count the coins in the jar, but we don't measure what the jar of coins can actually buy at the grocery store today versus 5 years ago.
Right. And the author recognized that a larger bank balance does not automatically equal greater purchasing power. There was no sudden market crash that robbed them.
It was just the silent thief of inflation.
Yes, inflation and economic shifts quietly siphoning away their purchasing power while they were literally just busy working their day job.
Man, once you have that terrifying realization that saving cash in a bank account is a guaranteed way to slowly lose your wealth, the immediate human instinct is to jump into frantic action.
Oh, absolutely. Total panic.
You think, I need to invest, I need to make my money work for me. But as the author discovered, doing this blindly creates a whole new, very stressful set of problems.
Yeah, the author openly admits to a classic overcorrection here. They were very late to understand the concept of diversification.
Right.
Initially, they operated under this incredibly naive assumption that as long as they threw their money into bank deposits and a few random stocks, they were completely safe.
They assumed investing was just a single monolithic bucket that magically protected you from inflation.
Precisely. But in reality, you have to think about it differently.
So you're saying assets are kind of like employees in a company or players on a sports team?
That's a perfect analogy.
Like, you don't want a soccer team made up of 11 offensive strikers and absolutely no goalies or defenders. But what does a financial goalie actually look like?
So a financial goalie is an asset specifically designed to preserve value or provide liquidity rather than chase high returns.
Okay.
In a functional financial ecosystem, different assets have entirely different jobs. Some assets are your strikers meant purely for growth, like certain stocks or equities.
Right.
Other assets are your defenders meant to preserve value over time, like gold. Some are there to provide immediate liquidity when you need cash fast.
Which is super important.
Yeah. And others act as a shield to protect you during a severe crisis or generate regular cash flow. The author's mistake was throwing all their money onto the field without assigning any specific roles.
Let me push back on this a little, though, because people hear the word risk and they run in the opposite direction. Say a person is completely terrified of the stock market. They hear about massive volatility. They want absolutely nothing to do with it. So they decide to keep 100% of their money in physical real estate because, you can touch it, you can see it, and it generally goes up over time.
Right, the safe as houses mindset.
Exactly. Aren't they being incredibly responsible and safe by doing that?
Well, actually, no. Storing all your wealth in any single asset class, whether that's 100% in local currency, 100% in real estate, 100% in stocks, or even gold, is a massive fundamental vulnerability.
Really? Even real estate?
Yeah, because the author had to completely redefine their understanding of what risk actually means. Risk isn't just about the stock market going down. Risk is vulnerability to sudden change.
But how is owning a tangible house a vulnerability? Like, it's a physical thing.
Let's look at the mechanics of real estate. It is highly illiquid. If your entire net worth is tied up in a house and the broader economy freezes, you might be wealthy on paper.
Okay, I'm following.
But if you lose your job and need to buy groceries or pay for a medical emergency next week, you cannot slice off a piece of your roof and hand it to the cashier.
Wow. Yeah, that's true.
If economic conditions shift and you desperately need cash right now, you might be forced to sell that property at a massive loss just to survive. You are rich in bricks, but dangerously vulnerable in liquidity.
So you build a team of 11 goalies, and suddenly you can't score a single point to win the game, or you get stuck.
Exactly. The goal isn't to pick the single best winning asset, but to build a balanced ecosystem that can weather different, unpredictable environments.
Okay, so let's say you do the work. You figure out the jobs. You build this beautifully balanced portfolio with your growth assets, your value preservers, your liquid cash.
You're doing everything right.
You understand the theory perfectly. And then the market inevitably drops.
Which it always does. And the author describes this visceral experience of seeing their portfolio drop significantly for the very first time. What they call a floating loss.
Including loss.
Yeah, the assets have lost value on paper, but because you haven't actually sold them yet, the loss isn't permanently locked in.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because the intellectual understanding of a floating loss completely detaches from the physical feeling of it.
Oh, completely.
It's exactly like turbulence on an airplane. Logically, you know the plane is built to handle it, you know the physics of flight, you've read the safety card in the seat pocket.
But you're still gripping the armrests.
Right. When you hit a storm and the cabin starts violently shaking, your stomach still drops. Your logic center just shuts down and your lizard brain takes over. You just want off the ride immediately.
Yeah, the author lived that exact panic. They describe compulsively checking their investment app over and over again, just like watching the numbers turn red.
Oh, man. I've been there.
They were frantically searching for news articles, trying to find some piece of information that would calm their nerves. But, the more they read, the more anxious they felt.
Because the news is designed to make you anxious.
Exactly. Understanding market volatility logically is incredibly easy when you are looking at a historical chart. But watching the physical representation of your labor, the hours of your life you traded for that money vanishing on a screen, is a really heavy psychological burden.
We all think we have an iron stomach until we actually take a punch.
That's the truth. The true journey of an investor is a mental one, not an intellectual one. There is a massive chasm between your theoretical risk tolerance when you fill out a clean, sterile questionnaire online and your emotional reality when your actual money is bleeding out.
Right, checking a box that says, I accept high volatility is very different from losing a month's salary in an hour.
Exactly. And the author came to a humbling but vital conclusion about themselves. They simply weren't comfortable with extreme risk.
And realizing that is a superpower, honestly. You don't have to be the Wolf of Wall Street. You just have to build a plane you're actually comfortable flying in.
Yes.
If a portfolio keeps you awake at night in a cold sweat, it is the wrong portfolio for you, no matter how mathematically perfect some financial blog says it is.
Being a successful investor doesn't mean having the most aggressive strategy or looking like the smartest, bravest person in the room. It's about acknowledging your own psychological limits. The author's goal wasn't to become a star day trader. It was just to provide stability and security for their family.
But when your brain hits that panic mode, when you hate that turbulence feeling, the most common human response isn't actually to fix the problem or learn more.
No, it's avoidance.
It's to close the app, ignore the sinking feeling, and just procrastinate. And the author confesses to this exact paralysis, describing the danger of nanti saja.
Yes, nanti saja, which translates to, I'll do it later, or there's still time.
We all fall into this trap, don't we? We prioritize the urgent, immediate tasks of our day over vital, long-term protections.
Always.
The author put off learning about how investments actually work. They delayed opening foreign exchange accounts. They ignored global economics because they always told themselves they would get to it eventually.
It's like noticing the faint smell of smoke in your kitchen and telling yourself you'll look into buying fire insurance next month.
Wow. Yeah, that's a terrifying way to put it, but it's accurate. Why is that so damaging?
It's incredibly damaging because time is the ultimate, irreplaceable ingredient in financial resilience.
Mm.
When we think about time in finance, we usually just think about compound interest and Gevard, the math of getting rich slowly.
Right.
But the author's point goes much deeper than that. Building true financial endurance requires the passage of time to gain actual market experience.
We have to build emotional calluses.
Exactly. You need time to survive a few small floating losses so you don't completely panic and liquidate everything during a massive market correction.
Yeah.
You cannot speed run emotional maturity.
So by saying, I'll do it later.
By delaying with Nanti Saja, you aren't just missing out on potential financial returns. You are actively squandering the time needed to weave your safety net before you're actually falling. You have to build the infrastructure of your defense while the economic weather is still clear.
Overcoming that we'll do it later paralysis ultimately requires a fundamental shift in how we view the entire purpose of our money.
Right.
The author's biggest life change wasn't buying their first stock or their first ounce of gold. It was a complete mental reframing.
A total paradigm shift.
Yeah, they stopped viewing money merely as a tool for shopping or buying lifestyle upgrades and started viewing it as a tool for life protection. They started asking, what if?
They started running practical scenarios like, what if the local currency, the rupiah, severely weakens against the global market?
Right.
What if the broader economy slows down and inflation spikes?
Or personal stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. What if my personal job situation changes suddenly? What if a major medical or family emergency hits tomorrow?
I love this what-if framework because it completely removes the anxiety.
It does.
They aren't asking these questions out of panic, and they aren't sitting in a bunker doomsday prepping. They are asking these questions out of a calm desire for preparedness.
It's proactive, not reactive. Asking those specific questions is what finally led them to construct a highly balanced defensive portfolio. They gave every dollar a specific job to answer one of those what-ifs.
Let's actually break down the mechanics of the portfolio they built, because they didn't just buy a bunch of random things. How did they actually build this shield?
Okay, so first they built a robust emergency fund. The mechanism here is pure liquidity.
Right. Cash.
Cash sitting in an easily accessible account, designed not to grow, but that act as a shock absorber so they don't have to sell their long-term investments if the car breaks down or they lose their job.
The ultimate defensive goalie.
Exactly. Then they bought physical gold. The mechanism of gold is historical value preservation. It doesn't generate a yield or pay a dividend, but over centuries, an ounce of gold generally buys the same amount of goods, protecting purchasing power when fiat currencies lose theirs.
Makes sense. And they also utilized foreign exchange, or VALIS, right? How does that actually work in practice? Like, if I live in Indonesia, why do I care about holding US dollars?
Let's look at a concrete scenario. Suppose you live in Indonesia and all your wealth is in rupiah. If a global economic event causes the rupiah to drop by 10% against the US dollar, everything you import electronics, certain foods, energy, suddenly costs more.
Oh, I see.
Your purchasing power shrinks overnight. But if a portion of your portfolio is held in US dollars, that specific asset appreciates in local terms as the rupiah falls, mathematically offsetting the pain of the local currency drop.
Oh.
Yeah, it is a localized hedge against your home country's economic stumbles.
That makes perfect sense. It's not about betting on America necessarily. It's about neutralizing the vulnerability of your own geography.
Precisely.
What about the rest of the portfolio?
Well, they bought bonds for stability. The mechanism of a bond is that you are essentially lending money to a government or a corporation. And in return, they are legally obligated to pay you a fixed interest rate.
Like an anchor.
Exactly. When the stock market is throwing a tantrum and dropping 20%, those bonds act as the heavy ballast in the ship, providing steady, predictable income.
And for growth.
Finally, they bought global ETFs, or exchange-traded funds, for broad growth. Instead of trying to guess which single local company will succeed, an ETF allows you to own tiny fractions of thousands of companies across the globe. You are essentially betting on the broader progress of human innovation, rather than the success of one specific CEO.
So they really built a complete ecosystem. The cash provides the breathing room, the gold and foreign exchange protect the borders, the bonds provide the steady rations, and the ETFs quietly conquer new territory.
That's a great summary.
But the author makes a very crucial caveat here, which I think we need to highlight. They explicitly state that they are still learning and that there is no finish line.
Right. There is no single perfect strategy. The author makes it incredibly clear that their specific portfolio structure is a reflection of their personal journey, their specific past mistakes, their family responsibilities, and their unique risk tolerance.
It's not a copy-paste template.
No, it is not meant to be rigid financial dogma that everyone must copy exactly.
Because a 25-year-old single person who rents an apartment has a profoundly different risk tolerance and set of responsibilities than, say, a 45-year-old with 3 kids, a mortgage, and aging parents to care for.
Exactly. The goal of sharing their specific asset allocation isn't to say, do exactly what I did. It's to inspire you to look at your own life, ask your own specific what-if questions, and build a defense that is uniquely tailored to your own vulnerabilities.
I love that. So if we pull all of this together, earning money, the hustle, the career climbing, that is an offensive game. That is income growth.
Yep.
But keeping that money, ensuring it can actually buy the life you want in the future, requires a completely different defensive playbook. That is wealth preservation.
It's a whole different skill set.
It really is. It requires recognizing that the big number in your account might be an illusion hiding a slow leak.
Right.
It requires understanding the specific mechanical jobs of different assets.
Right.
It means building a portfolio that your lizard brain can actually handle when the financial turbulence hits. And above all, it means abandoning Nanti Saja and starting the process right now before the smoke fills the kitchen.
It is a profound shift from just accumulating abstract numbers on a screen to actually cultivating real-world resilience.
And this applies to absolutely everyone listening, whether you're a young professional who just got their first real paycheck and you're figuring out how to save, or you're someone who's been building a nest egg for decades, but you've kept it all sitting in one place, hoping the weather stays clear forever.
Yeah, and I think a good way to close is with this thought. If you were to stop earning new money tomorrow, and an economic shift caused your local currency to drop and your property values to stagnate for the next decade, how long would the exact composition of your current assets actually protect your family's lifestyle?
That's a heavy question.
It is. Are you holding on to a comforting, growing number on a screen, or are you holding on to real, resilient value?